my first recollection of anything happening was the pops of the mortar, the primary pops, and I was awake, and then Jerry yelled out, "Get in the pit! It's starting to happen." And so I jumped onto the gun, and at that stage, the first mortars were starting to land, and you could see the primaries. You could see the flash of when the mortar started, and they also started to fire rockets, and so I just concentrated the fire started to fire under the where these flashes were, which was the other side of the clearance. So it was a fair way, probably I guess I'd say 1,000 metres or so, which is about the limit of the gun. But every fifth round of the gun is a tracer, so you can actually see where you're shooting. And but conversely, that also makes it you're the target. They can see where it's coming from. So getting so hot, so we always have a spare barrel with the gun. So we swapped the barrel over. Jerry would take the second barrel and tried to clear it. Dave Hodder, he had an AR, which is an automatic version of SLR, and he was sort of covering fire while the gun was inoperative. And Jerry was providing rounds to him and also to the gun. It was the thing I dreaded. It was we'd had a bit of action before this at different operations, but this was the real thing. This was more what I imagine World War II, World War I guys experience. Where you're in trenches or pits, and we had never experienced that sort of stuff before. It was always jungle type, more individual stuff. This was full on with NVA. We were aware of that. There wasn't just one or two of them. There was Italian size or whatever it was.
And our first recollection of the battle was the mortar started popping, and at that stage we woke naturally, and our first thing was to get in the gun pit with Hodder, who was our sentry on the night. Straight away, Mel manned the gun, and Hodder took up his SLR, and I was feeding the rounds into the gun for Mel as he still I see on the gun. And once the noise of them yelling, the bugles, and you couldn't see anything. Naturally, it was pitch black. And then the gunfire started, and we opened up, and Mel was naturally firing to their flashes because we couldn't see anything at that stage, but you could see the shadows. It was still light enough to see. You could see something at the front of the wire. And we detonated claymores, but unfortunately probably only one or two went off because the others, would have been hit by mortars or trampled on or kicked over or something. But yes, it was just a huge volume of enemy in front of us, and then the tremble started. My knees were knocking like crazy, and but everything else was fine, and Mel just kept pumping the rounds out, and then Hodder was firing his SLR, and as we run out of ammunition, naturally we had to get resupplied, and that's when Lofty Evie and our Sergeant Spurs started dragging the ammo down, and under intense fire. And I must say that without them we wouldn't have functioned because we were going through rounds pretty quick. And that was probably well into the battle that we found out that Johnny Desnor had been killed. And at that stage Creswell was sort of a bit delirious of what had happened, I suppose, and lost his ammunition and his webbing, and his rifle was dysfunctional, and I think at that stage Terry Ovens had crawled down to give him a bit of aid while they removed John's body. We didn't have a radio the first night, and we didn't have a radio the second night, but we had a radio the third night, which was the second battle, and that's another event. So
can you give me the colour of that, please, Ken, in terms of what your language was? Was it you, or was it Mel that was on the...
No, it was me. I got the call from Norm, and Norm said, "What's going on, Jerry?" I said, "Where fuck, boss?" I said, "They've walked the mortars through the wire, and within the next 2 drops they're in our gun pit." And he said, "Well, give me a bearing on the last mortar flash," which I did. And it just didn't feel that long, and our mortar started off, and it must have hit their mortars because we got no other mortar fire from that time. And then all hell broke loose again, and they were just screaming at the wire again. But this time we got pretty quick illumination, and that really helped. But
After Balmoral, that was a real eye opener to me, and losing Johnny had an impact. But from then on, that was in May, and we were there till December. We were due to be there till December, and we had Longdien, we had the Long Highs, all sorts of stuff with the whole landmine thing. Each time we went through something like that, I used to think it's only a matter of time when your luck's going to run out, because, as Jerry said, we never sat still for too long. We'd go out for 2 or 3 weeks in the scrub. When we got back to Nui we're given a day to get our gear back organised, because you're in the wet season, you're continually wet, all your ammos turn green, all your boots and your socks, so you have to get all your gear back to operational again, so you get resupplied with ammo and give your gun a good clean, and get all your laundry and stuff done, so you had socks and shirts and things. And but they give you one day, and then the next day you'd start doing, and at night, every night you have to do picket.